This section we're going to talk about simple interest formula and some word problems that involving the interest formulas and discounts. So simple interest formula, I, interest, is equals to P, principal, times R, rate, times T, times in year. So that's the formula you need to know in order to use the simple interest. The first example, let's say the XYZ Corporation is issuing 10 years bonds at an annual simple interest rate of 6% with interest paid twice a year. Lastly, buy 10,000 bonds. A, how much interest will she earn every 6 months? B, how much interest will she earn over the 10 years life of the bond? So when we're doing example A, how much interest? You're going to use the interest equals to PRT, and we know that we're going to use the simple interest formula because it said simple interest rate, right? So it depends on what kind of interest rate you're going to use. You're going to use different formula. This time we're using simple interest formula. So let's see what's the principal. The principal is going to be how much you're going to use. So this is going to how much that Leslie is going to pay and buy bonds, right? So $10,000. So that's going to be your P, principal. And then your rate is going to be 6%. But then you need to change that 6% into the decimal, so it will be 0.06. And your T, time is going to be 6 months. So T is time in a year. So if it's a 1 year, T is going to be 1. 2 year, T is going to be 2. But this is 6 months, not even year. So half of the year. So your T is equals to 1/2, half, or 0.5. So we're going to do 10,000 P times rate times T. We'll get, let's see, if you get half of 10,000, that will be 5,000 times 0.06. That gives you 300. So with the simple interest, $300 interest every 6 months is what Leslie is going to gain. That will be for A. For B, how much interest will she earn over 10 years, right? So this time, your T is going to be 10. But you're using the same thing. P is equals to 10,000. Rate is going to be equals to 0.06. So this time, you're going to use 10,000 times 0.06 times 10. Because 10 year, your T is 10. Which will give you, you can either put it into the calculator or get rid of two decimal by getting rid of 2 0. And that gives you 6 times 100, 600 times 10 gives you 6,000, right? So Leslie will earn 6,000 in a 10 year. So the second example we're going to look at it is the future value, not just the interest itself, but in the future, what will be your amounts, total amounts, right? Future value, but sometimes we call that maturity value. You can find that future value total amount equals to principal plus interest. We just learned how to find the interest, so just add it into the principal. That will be the future value. Or without the interest, you can find the future value as principal times 1 plus RT. You will end up getting same thing when you distribute P to open the parenthesis. So it'll be P times 1 plus PRT, which is going to be P plus PRT. And we know that PRT is equals to interest, so it will be principal plus interest. So basically these two are same, but without having our interest values, you can use these formulas so that you don't have to find interest first and then add it to the principal. But again, both ways you're going to end up getting the same numbers. So if we're trying the first one, it's say 2,000 borrow, 20,000 borrow, and that's interest of 5.25 and 9 months. So let's see, how are we going to use this? So they're asking for total amount. The total amount that he's going to be expect to receive. So I'm going to use this. It's not just interest, it's the total amount, right? So we'll be using this formula right here. Principal is going to be how much investing or borrowing. And then 1 plus the rate. Percent, you need to change to decimal, so it becomes 0.0525. So plus 0.0525 times T. So 9 months. 9 months is 9 over 12. Because time is per year, right? So 9 months out of 12. When you reduce this, you will end up getting 3 over 4. So you can multiply this by 3 over 4. And when you plug in all that number into the calculator, and if you wanted to put all this number at once in your scientific calculator, you're going to start it from inside out. And you do the multiplication first. So you can do 3 divided by 4 first on the calculator, and then multiply by this decimal 0.0525. And then on that solution, you're going to add 1 and then times 20,000. And you will get 20,787.5. Again, in order to put this number on the calculator, you do 3 divided by 4 times 0.0525 and then plus 1 and times 20,000, right? And then you should get that number right there. Let's look at the second one. It's this time borrowing 11,280 for 85 days at 9% interest. So this time your amount that you're going to receive is going to be 11,280 times 1 plus your rate is 9%, so it will be 0.09 decimal, and 85. What's the parts of 95 out of 365 days? Well, you can write that into the fraction forms to multiply. You can also reduce this to multiply, but if you're going to use the calculator, it doesn't have to be reduced forms, right? So when you do 85 divided by 365 times 0.09 plus 1 times 11,280, you will end up getting 11,500 516.42. So that will be the total amount. But then if you wanted to find the interest, what do? Well, if you just wanted to find interest only, you're going to subtract this by the principal, right? And then you know what will be the interest only. Interest only is going to be around 236 and 42, right? But again, the question it's asking is the amounts. So that's going to be that. So example 3, this time, they're not asking for total value or interest. They're asking for present value, principal, right? The total amount is going to be 32,000 and the time is going to be 4 months. Interest is going to be 9%. So what we know is amount is equals to principal time 1 plus RT. But this time, everything else is given but present value. So we're going to set that is equals to X and trying to solve for that, right? So in order to solve for P, we wanted to isolate P. This is multiplication, so in order to isolate P by itself, you get rid of that multiplication by dividing. And when you're dividing one side by a certain value, you need to do exactly same thing on the other side to make it equations hold the true statements. So that cancels out. You have P is equals to A over 1 plus RT. So in order to find your principal, you should be able to use this formula, right? I should be able to write this equals to on the other side, so it's just more familiar, right? So your amount is 32,000. And 1 plus the rate is 9%, so it'll be 0.09 times 4 months out of 12, so it'll be 4 over 12, right? And this is going to give you something close to 31,067.96. So that's the principal. And this is how you're going to find one of other variable. Don't have to be amounts. It could be principal. It could be rate or times. Okay, so we're going to look at a few more word problems involving interest formula. Example 4. Larry owes $6,500 to Virginia. The loan is payable in 1 year at 6% interest. Virginia need cash to pay medical bills, so 4 months before the loan is due, she sold the loan to the bank. If the bank wants a return of 9% on its investment, how much should it pay Virginia for the note? So the first thing you wanted to find is going to be future value of the loans, right? So if we wanted to find the future value of the loans, let's do the amount equals to 6,500 times 1 plus, the loan was 6%, so it'll be 0.06 for 1 year times 1, right? When you plug in this number into the calculator, it's same as 6,500 times 1.06. You get 6,890. So this means in 4 months, the bank will receive this amount, right? So in 4 months, this is the amount the bank will receive. But then bank wants to have 9% returns. So 9% returns, you're going to figure out what will be 9% of this amount. So you wanted to know what principal that had to be. So remember the other formula, principal is equals to A over 1 plus RT, right? So if you wanted to have amount as 6,890, and they wanted to know what the principal that bank have to pay, right? If you wanted to make this one as the 9% interest. And you still only have 4 months left, right? So it'll be 4 over 12 as the time. And when you plug in those numbers on the calculator. So here, this is one thing you need to be careful when you're plugging this number into the calculator. The calculator do not know if you just do 6,890 divided by 1 plus 0.09 times 4 over 12. What calculator is understanding, if you just put it like that, they will understand as 6,890 over 1 plus 0.09 times 4 over 12. But this is not true. You wanted to have all this on denominator, right? So let me erase this. So that in that case, what do? Well, you need to make sure you put another parenthesis around here. So when you're plugging this value into the calculator, your calculator have to know all this value inside of the first parenthesis is under denominator, right? So you will do 6,890, push the divisions, and then parentheses 1 plus 0.09 times 4 over 12. I mean, you need to use the parenthesis on this one also, and then close the parentheses. So you have a 2 parenthesis close at the end. And this way you will end up getting, let's see what number you get, 6,689 and 32. So this is the amount that the bank have to pay so that they will make this amount as the 9% gaining. So that's how you're going to use formula to figure out what they're asking. Example 5 is same types of problems, right? So the loan start with 21,000 due in 8 months with the interest of, so this is the amount, principal for 8 months, 10.5%. 2 months before the due. They wanted to sell this loan and broker wants 12.5% return. In order to get that, how much should he pay for the loans, right? So this is exactly same problem as example 4. So maybe you can pause this video and try example 5, similar to the way that we did example 4. And then watch it to see if you did it right or wrong. Okay, so first we wanted to find the future value, how much this is going to be, right? So we will do principal times 1 plus RT, right? Principal is 21,000. Oh, that's not equal. Times 1 plus 0.105, right? Because changing this to the decimal by moving to space to the left on a decimal point, right? And times t. 8 months is going to be 8 over 12. And when you plug in this number into the calculator, you will get 22,470. So that's going to be how much this loan is worth at the end of 8 months, right? But they're selling this 2 months before. 2 months before. So in that 2 months, if you wanted to make it 12.5% return, let's see how much the principal have to be. So your principal have to be amount over 1 plus RT. So total amount is right there. And 1 plus the rate should be decimal form of 12.5%. So it'll be 0.125 times 2 months, 2 over 12. And when you plug in this, make sure you have another parenthesis to show that whole thing is dividing. And this will give you somewhere close to $22,012.15. So this means broker pays firm $22,012.15, and after 2 months, broker gets $22,470. That way that the broker will gain 12.5% return. Number 6 is easier than the other two problems. This is just asking for what will be your principal, right? If you want to earn an annual rate of 10% on your investments, how much should you pay for the notes that will be worth $5,000 in 9 months, right? So $5,000 in 9 months means that $5,000 is going to be total amount, right? So if we wanted to start from the regular formula, amount equals to P times 1 plus RT, the 5,000 is going to be the total amount, right? And then principal is what they're going to look for. And then rate is going to be 10%, so it will be 0.1, and time is going to be 9 over 12. You can start this way, or if you notice that you're looking for a principal, right, the amount that you're starting, then you can start with this formula. Either way, it is same thing, because at this point, you're going to divide by 1 plus 0.1 times 9 over 12. So that can get canceled out, and you do the same thing on the other side, which is going to be same as this one, right? It will give you, let's see how much. It will be $4,651.16. Example 7, last example. This time, they're not asking for future value or the principal. They're asking for the rate. What annual simple interest rate will you earn? So what information we have? We have a future value, we have a principal, we have year. So we're going to use the simple interest formula using total amounts. And replace everything that we have and see what the rate is going to be. So if we replace all the value as it is, this is what we're going to have. 10,000, replace the total amounts. 9,893.78 will replace the principal. 1 plus R is what we're trying to look for. That's something we don't know. And time is going to be 180 out of 365. Next thing we need to do is dividing both sides by 9,893.78. 9,893.78, so that you will only have the parenthesis remaining, and whatever this value is going to be, I believe it's going to be 1.010736, and I don't want it to round the number until at the end of the solutions. Do not round your decimal until you get final solutions. And then on the right side, you will only have 1 plus r times 180 over 365 remains. And next thing you need to do, you subtract each side by 1. So you will have only r times 180 over 365 remains. So the other side is going to be 0.010736, right? In order to get rid of or isolate r, you're going to multiply both sides by reciprocal, so it will be 365 over 180. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. That way, numerator, denominator cancel out in our multiplications, and same thing with denominator and numerator cancel out. This is going to be 1. So you will only have r on the right side. And when you plug in those values into the calculator, you're going to get 0.021777 something, right? But then they want your solutions to round to the 3 decimal place. So your 3 decimal place will be right there, and this number is greater than or equals to 5. So this become 0.022. And when you change that to the percent, right, that will give you moving decimal 2 space to right, so it will be 2.2%. So that's how you can find the rate with all other information given.